Welcome to the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Jarvis Scott with What's Happening in Birmingham. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of being with Miss Crystal Jarvis of Splash Resumes. I love that name, Splash Resume.
Thank you. How are you, Jarvis?
Great. I want to bring Crystal on because, continuing series about what's going on with the coronavirus pandemic. And, in the midst, this is some interesting times, I would like to say we're living in. That we, I guess, once every generation or century that a pandemic kind of hits the world. And this is, and I guess Crystal can agree to this, and everybody probably watching, this has hit every facet of life, pretty much. And the most more thing as you read the newspapers today as we do this interview, last time I checked, 40 million people are unemployed. So with 40 million people unemployed, is the great assumption to make is these people want to find a job. So I want to bring Crystal on to kind of provide some job search tips and interview tips and just ask for just other things going on during this time. So Crystal, how are you doing? First of all, before we just kind of kick
off. I am great, Jarvis. Thank you so much for asking. I love that your first name is my last name. So
yeah,
that's back and forth with that.
With my last name, the first name, then first name.
And believe it or not, a lot of people actually do call me by my last name. So probably would be strange if we were face to face and we would both turn our heads. But yes, these are very interesting times that we are in right now. So I will just give you a little bit of background and tell you a little bit about what I've been up to because we've worked together over the years. So now I have been writing resumes for more than 7 years. I started it as a way, basically, a couple of friends and family members had asked me to write resumes for them. And they got really great results. They got really, really promising jobs in their career fields and jobs that they have been aiming to get with corporate companies. I've gotten people jobs with Coca-Cola and Pepsi and many different big names in Birmingham and also in other cities where I've helped people live, where I've helped them. And so basically, over this time, I wasn't doing it full time. I was also pursuing other corporate endeavors of my own in the marketing realm. And I also used to be a journalist. But I decided actually in December, because people kept asking me, and mind you, this was before COVID-19, we had even really truly known about it. So in December, I decided to relaunch my business and kind of do it full time instead of part time, not even knowing what was going to happen. And actually, a bigger part of my focus was going to be small business owners. I also create marketing documents for small business owners. And so that was going to be who I focused on. And I was actually going to open up what I was going to call the resume shop about 3 times a year and just focus on basically opening the shop with my team of writers during that time to help people during the hiring seasons. Well, as you said, now there are more than 40 million people out of work. So this is going to be a challenge for everyone. And I want to try to help as many people as I can. So we have actually kind of shifted the business focus a little bit to make sure that we're always able to handle some of the business that comes in instead of doing it on a seasonal basis. But these are very strange times. I think that, I even talked to my grandmother and I asked her, have you ever seen anything like this? My grandmother is 80 and her mom, who's still living, is 104 years old. They have never seen, well, my 104-year-old grandmother probably actually has, but she was very young, so she wouldn't remember the last pandemic, which was in 1918. So wow. These are all very different times that we are living in. And I think, again, with 40 million people out of work, you will really have to be able to be competitive in the job market.
Yeah, because right now you got 39,999,999. I hope I got that number right. Competing against you, possibly.
Absolutely. Well, and
Um,
you also have to think about not everybody is going to be in the same field as
yeah,
you, but you can still kind of think of that number to think of how competitive you're going to have to be. And you also need to think about what's the first thing the recruiters are going to have access to. They're not going to be able to meet you face to face. That's no
right.
longer really that's some people can network, but that's no longer, popular. We can't go and shake hands. We definitely don't want to shake hands with anyone right now. And we
And
can't
you
keep
feel
them in
social distancing too.
exactly. Exactly. So we can't do all of those things that we would normally try to do to network and get jobs. So what is the first thing they're going to see? You're going to have to be able to represent yourself on paper before you could even get that opportunity. And there's a lot of other challenges that still come along with that. So when you think about it, yes, that's definitely what we'll have to focus on in being competitive.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to what we're on right now, Zoom, which
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, you'll have to end up probably having, I know some people have been doing this, Zoom interviews.
Yes, yes.
So how do you prepare for like a Zoom interview? Because I know it has to be completely different from an in-person interview.
Oh, I think it is absolutely. It's different, I would say. But the answer to my question is going to be the same. Um, you would be surprised though at how many people don't or wouldn't do these things. So I would say that when you prepare for a Zoom interview, you want to make sure you do three main things. Okay, so preparing for the interview, number one, dress from head to toe. Okay.
Okay.
And I have to say head to toe, and here's why. I have seen, on social media and different places where people may dress from here to their waist because you're not going to see the lower half of my body. But there has been horror stories to where I'm a part of an online teaching group in Facebook where one of the teachers forgot to wear pants to class. He didn't forget. He didn't forget to wear pants. He was in his underwear and up top because his student couldn't see
Oh
him.
man.
But he had to rush and go to the bathroom and totally forgot he didn't have the bottom half of his clothing on. So therefore, what do you think happened to his student when he abruptly jumped up to go use the restroom? So I
Oh,
would,
wow.
yes, yeah. So I would just say that, the best thing you can do, you never know when things are going to happen. I've actually been on an online interview before COVID-19, but the person that wanted to interview me, I believe, was in Washington, D.C., and he wasn't in the local office. So I had an interview where my doorbell was ringing. And it was ringing to the point to where he actually stopped and said, "Do you want to get your doorbell?"
Oh wow. Okay.
But again, I'm saying this just to say, if only the lower half of your body is appropriate, you don't want to have to get up and they see that, or they be exposed to something, or it will throw them off. Okay, so that's number one. Dress from head to toe. Dress to impress. Basically, make sure dress the same way you would dress if you were going to an interview. That's definitely key. I've also, for myself, I've hired a team of writers. I had someone who came to an interview in a baseball cap, and her hair underneath it was completely disheveled. That's not going to make a good impression on the person that's interviewing you. I understand we're all at home, but could I have come to our conversation looking like I just got finished watching Netflix? Of course I could. But would you want to speak to me about dressing professionally? No. So why would I be interested in your services if you can't even take the time to kind of, act like you're interested in the position? So that's the best thing to say. So with the virtual interviews, that was number one, dressing. And then I took a few notes, so I wanted to make sure number two. Okay, so number one was dressing. And then the third one is just, find a good place. The second one is find a good place to host your interview. So you know that basically a wall to where there will be no one walking behind you. There won't be any distractions. You can have a nice background, something for them to look at. I've even had people make comments on the wall. It's a great conversation starter if there's a nice picture in your background, something to kind of ease the tension because you're still in an interview. That's always great. So just make sure you have a clear, clean space behind you when you're doing your interviews. And then the third one is, again, just the same as regular interviews. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Know all of those hard-hitting questions that people are going to ask you. Know the question, what's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? Why are you leaving your current job? Or why are you interested in leaving your current job to come and work with us? What book is on your nightstand right now? Some employers actually ask questions like that to try to gauge what your interests outside of work are. Or are you interested in, are you an intellectual or interested in having different diverse conversations? They actually ask some of those questions, and you wouldn't believe how many people stumble on those questions. And the main question, tell me about yourself. Do not tell them that you like to play tennis on the weekends, okay?
Wow.
Make sure you act. They're actually asking you to tell them about your professional career. They are not asking what you like to do in your life outside of work. So just make sure you prepare for all of those questions.
All right. Well, another thing I want to add to that, like I've noticed on Zoom, is a lot of people, and you probably gonna answer this. Show your face in the video. Don't put the wallpaper up or profile picture that they just see a picture of you, and it's almost like it's an audio call, and you trying to, I call it like fake the phone, fake the Zoom interview. You don't want to see what's going on in your background and stuff like that.
Right. Exactly. That is a very good point. I've never encountered anyone doing that as far as an interview is concerned. Yes, please don't do that. If they have gone through the time to set up a video call, please make sure you are prepared to be on the video. Please make sure you prepare for that. And technology is so great. Everyone has a smartphone now. You have access to be able to have a Zoom call or a call via the internet through your phone. So just make sure you're prepared for that. Again, just if it's a phone, just set it up in a place to where, the frame is nice and you can see and they will be able to see you. But take the time out to do the same exact things that you would do to prepare for an interview.
Well, and let's transition. Okay, once you get in an interview, you want to ask that recruiter a lot of interesting questions. And
Yeah.
one of the main questions, well, we're going to get to two questions first. We'll hit you with the first one. The first question you want to know, or how do you approach the question of the topic of job security? Because you got to think about that person that's unemployed. They don't want to have to lose their job again. How can you ask a recruiter that, why they're interviewing for the position, what do you see as this position secure the next 12 to 18 months? Or they don't probably know the answer, but how do you bring that up?
Okay, so this is a good question. So what is interesting is that you said someone who is already unemployed, who may be asking about job security. Okay, so you're already unemployed, right? But there's a deeper layer to other people who may actually have jobs at this very moment and looking to go to another job at a different company. So that is an even bigger question for people who are already who already have jobs, and they may want to venture out and go and get another job, but they don't know how secure that job role may be. So this is a very valid question to ask, but it may be hard it will be hard to broach this subject. So what I would do is I would definitely ask this question in a way that kind of opens up for the recruiter to answer the question. So it would be more in a way of, wow, I really admire your company, and I think that it's so great to see that you all are still growing and hiring during such unprecedented times. Can you tell me a little bit about how you will continue to grow within the next year or two? That is a great way to, a great soft way, I would say, to ask that question without it sounding like, so is my job going to be secure? Or if I leave this job for your job, will I be able to work here for the next 5 years? That sounds very harsh, and it actually could turn off the recruiter. Remember, we are still on display, and as honest as those questions are, we still want to make sure we're asking them in a way that definitely you get the answer that you're looking for, but also at the same time, it doesn't necessarily, make the recruiter not really want to call you back, or not really like the way you kind of broach that subject, because it's still a tough spot for some companies. I will say that.
Well, let me segue. Now that you got the job, and you've been there for a few months, and that's kind of, I guess the way I phrase this next question is apply for people who've been at jobs at this time. How do you ask for a raise during this COVID-19 pandemic? How do you go in to your boss or your boss's boss, whoever it is, and say, hey, I need more money?
Wow, you are really hitting me with the hard questions. You are really hitting me with the hard questions today, Jarvis. Okay, so I did a lot of research to try to figure out the best way to answer this question. And so part of what I do is, I used to be a journalist, so I actually decided to put my journalism hat back on, now running this business. So a part of one of the things that I do is I actually have partnered with a local news organization here, and I talk to recruiters on a regular basis and ask them questions like what you've asked, right? So here's some of the interesting things I want you to think about as you go and ask your boss for a raise. So this is a time we are officially in a recession, to where companies have to cut jobs from their roster. They have to shrink their budgets to make sure they're still meeting some of their profit goals. And sometimes they have one person doing the job of two people. So with that being said, one of the things that I would say before you just go and ask for a raise, make a checklist for yourself, right? Because the first thing is, I don't care what job market we're in, you should always know your worth. You should always know and feel like you're valuable. And you should never take that away. You should never take your skills away from you just because we are in a difficult market right now. So I will tell that to everyone and anyone, because a lot of times when I write resumes for people, I'm definitely going off track, but hold on, I'm getting somewhere.
Go ahead.
The first thing they say, they'll diminish their own job skills. I've had so many people, I say, so tell me about your management skills. Oh, I didn't do nothing but. You're already diminishing your job skills. So one, take a pen and paper and assess currently what you are doing within that job role, to know your worth. Okay, but now you're going to ask for a raise in a difficult time. Next is, if there are any things within that role that you're doing or supposed to be doing that you're lacking, go ahead and get, there's so many resources right now available. So those skill gaps that you may have, fill those in. So if that role may call for you to know how to do Adobe InDesign or, Adobe Premiere, if they call for that, go and get that training, add that to the list. If there are things that you need to work on, maybe you turn in things a day after deadline. Start figuring out ways to turn those things in early. And then once you have that checklist together, once you've kind of done some of those things that that will basically make it hard to tell them no, then if you feel like you need to have that conversation about more money, go to them and have that conversation. But first, you definitely need to take a checklist of yourself. It can be done. You can ask these questions. They are hard questions, but definitely you want to make sure that you are filling in everything you need, checking off everything that's on your end that you are supposed to be doing or should have done within that role. And then that way, that gives you a stronger ground to stand on, to be able to, say, okay, this is my review time. Will I be able to get a raise as if the last time? That's not a bad question, but it is a question that you can ask your employers.
Well, one thing too, before I jump into start talking about resumes, is do you want to make sure that you're in the office? Because there's a lot of people that's working remotely. And one thing I always tell some of my friends is that, make sure that if the quicker you can get to your job, your physical job, I'm not no what they call crystal ball, but looking at you every day, they're more likely to keep you. Whereas you're working from home.
That's funny, and that's a funny that's an interesting thought process. I never thought about it like that. I think so here's the thing. Don't let them feel like you're at home. So let me make that make sense. Okay, so if right now I'm at home, clearly, and I have a 10-year-old. Is she running behind me like while I'm in the middle of a Zoom call? No, she isn't. Have I taken care of everything that I needed to take care of before a formal meeting? Absolutely. That way, so what I'm saying is, if you get all of your work done, if you do everything that you need to do, if you, when they send emails, if you can answer them back within the time frame they expect you to answer emails back, like you were in the office, then there would be no reason for them to necessarily put you on the chopping block. You are working hard. You are showing your worth. You are showing your value, regardless of the fact that you're at home. Now, is everything I said hard to do? Absolutely. We are human beings. But there are, different ways you can figure out discipline. If you're definitely working at home with your children, you may need to wake up earlier before them to get your day started, because it can be very hard once they, get up. And now, we went from feeding our children, maybe at dinner time sometimes, to now 3 times a day. We're the chef cooks and we're everything. So it definitely doesn't come without its challenges. But if you could figure out a way to continue to make yourself valuable, there shouldn't be a reason why you couldn't ask for that raise that you deserve during a pandemic. And remember, the main thing that you must always make sure you understand about yourself is know your self-worth. Know your self-worth. That is the main thing. And if you feel like you are worth more than what you're making, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to ask that question. Also, again, and with what I was saying with the skill gaps, if your skill set is in demand, when you're talking to them about a raise, make sure you highlight that. Make sure you say, oh, remember Adobe Premiere? I went and got that training. That's in high demand right now. I know you need more people to do those things. Just, be able to talk to them a way that shows your worth and your value, and see what they say. They may still say no, but at least you asked the question. At least you gave it your all, if that's something you're definitely interested in doing during this time.
All right, so 2020, what are some resumes, do's and don'ts? Some things you don't need to put on the resume, some things you don't need to put on the resume.
So, the funny part about resumes, so the first thing is objective. No objective. Do not put objectives on your resume. Obviously, if you're applying for a job as a janitor, we know you want to be a janitor at this particular organization, okay? So no need to put at the top of your resume, I would like a role as a janitor with this wonderful organization. We know that. Instead of an objective, you need to put a profile summary. The profile summary will tell someone exactly what your resume consists of. It will tell the person, it's an introduction to who you are. So for example, if you've been a janitor for 20 years, I've been a janitor for more than 20 years. I actually have my professional license to clean very large corporate offices. I can clean 400 corporate offices within an hour. Those are the types of things that you will highlight within your profile summary. But no objectives. Don't do objectives anymore. That's number one. Don't put pictures on your resume, please. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, and trust me, some of these organizations and companies do go and look up all of your information. So,
well, I ain't gonna jump. You brought up a good point, but okay, when it comes to your LinkedIn picture, can you tell people do not use your Facebook profile picture sometimes, or your IG, or your Snap?
Yes, please don't use that. Everyone has, again, the same with the phone, the same with Zoom interviews and Zoom calls. Everyone has access to a phone. You can absolutely go on a blank wall, sit on a bar stool, a high top stool, and take a nice picture of with your, if you're female, you make it look at how you would look professionally at work. I always, for those type of pictures, like to wear like a button down shirt with a collar. It just, put a blazer on top of it. It can look professional, but yes, absolutely. Those, where you see this much of your face cropped in, no, don't do any of that. Just a picture. It doesn't have to be a full body picture, but yes. But I always tell people, because when someone gets their, resume done, right? My whole concept is to make you look like $1 million, right? So if your resume looks like $1 million, and then I go and type in your LinkedIn profile and it looks like a cheap bar picture from 2015, you don't look like $1 million now. So, you kind of ruin that image. You want to make sure you look like $1 million all the way around, because you are on the spotlight for this position.
So do you transfer, I guess, into some services you provide? So when you do your resume services, do you also offer to kind of fit the LinkedIn profile as well?
So that's a good question. So what I actually do offer to write LinkedIn profile summaries. So A lot of people don't know this, but the summary portion of the profile, some people will literally go and copy and paste their resume on their LinkedIn profile summary. You should actually write a LinkedIn profile summary that, again, this is actually the one space outside of your resume, outside of your LinkedIn profile picture, that you can actually allow someone that, that question, tell me a little bit about yourself. This, you can actually answer it in a way that lets them get to know you professionally and personally. So we do write LinkedIn profile summaries. If I see a LinkedIn profile and I do see like a picture that looks like they took it in the back of a club on a Saturday night, I will definitely, tell them, give them tips on ways. I do career coaching as well, because sometimes you do need more than just a revamped resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile summary. So I will let them know to, here's how the same thing I just said, wear a white button-down shirt with a collar, put a blazer on top of it, and sit near on a blank wall and take a photo. It will look really nice and professional. You do not need to go and hire a photographer to do anything. You don't need to, you don't need to go any more than your iPhone or anything else to take a picture.
But just don't make it look like a selfie.
Right. Yeah, please don't do one of these numbers. Don't do that. Definitely, yes, have someone else at least take the picture. But we all take pictures for our social media sites. So you definitely could have someone take that for you, no problem.
Is there anything, I guess, I guess let me start about if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you? Like website, email address, phone number?
The best way to reach me is by email. So my email is team@splashofcolorcreativesolutions.com. That is very long. So I'm working on a nickname, but that is the best way is to email me and tell me. And I do give free resume consultations as well. Because some people will say, hey, I want you to take a look at my resume and let me know if it's okay. Where could I improve things? And that's where I'll say things like, yes, you definitely could work on selling yourself more. A lot of people, that's the main thing that people don't do in resumes is they don't sell themselves enough. And then when you speak to them, when I interview them, when I have what I call a resume conversation with someone to write their resume, they downplay their own skills. I had this beautiful woman who she was a great client, is a great client. She did a lot of television. She did a lot of hosting events to where she would get major events in the city where she lives. She also created her own production company, but she decided to transition her career into marketing. And while we were talking, she literally said, I only have 1 year of marketing experience. I said, oh my God, do you hear yourself? You literally downplayed all of your skills just then. So one of the things that you want to do if you are in one of those positions of transition, just because you have 1 year of marketing experience, that doesn't mean anything. What you want to do is make your resume highlight how all of your past experiences, so that's exactly what I did for her, all of her past experiences and how they could contribute as a marketing director in a marketing role. That's what you want to do. So don't diminish your skills or say, I only have, 1 year of janitorial services. I only have 1 year of IT experience. It doesn't matter. You need to look at how you could be an asset to that company with the skills you do have. So that's what you have. That's what it is when you write resumes. So, but you did mention the no's. No objective. I said no pictures, right? And then we started talking about, and then no crazy designs. You guys don't have to. I saw this one resume where it was like 5 different color blues in this resume. I said that resume had the blues. You don't have to do all of that. I mean, you may be able to bold 1 or 2 things if you really wanted it to stand out, but make that consistent. Highlight, the main things you should do is highlight your achievements. Highlight things that you can quantify. If I know social media managers, if you're a social media manager and you literally help their followers skyrocket by 95%, that number means a lot. It quickly lets you stand out and shows that you could come and do the same thing to their company. Numbers. That is a big thing that will definitely take your resume to the next level. So highlight your achievements. So don't spend a lot of time listing a lot of responsibilities, because obviously the responsibilities that they're looking for will be in the resume. A lot of the responsibilities that they're looking for will be in the job description. They don't want to reread their job descriptions when they're looking at your resume. They want to see how you would assist them with that job description or those job roles. What can you do? What did you do at your other jobs that you can now do within our job?
And I guess this is general me, just curiosity about resumes. How many pages should it be nowadays in 2022?
That is a tough, sore spot for a lot of people, professionals. It really depends on the resume, and depending on how much experience that you have. Okay, no more than 2 pages. For most regular, I would say regular, yes, for most resumes, no more than 2 pages. Okay, if you absolutely, but here's one thing that I do actually advise my clients on. Okay, because I've written executive resumes for people. Clearly, when you get into executive roles where you're going to be making more 6 figures, they're going to want to see more than 2 jobs you've done. Okay, that's a given. So the executive resumes kind of fall into that CV resume field, and CV curriculum vitae. The curriculum vitae usually are for academia and other professional positions. So, but usually try to keep it, at 2 pages. I've written resumes that were longer than 2 pages, but it has to serve a purpose to be longer than that, if that makes any sense. So if there's particular things that you want to highlight, then it can be a little longer, but just try to keep it, really you're grabbing someone's attention. So just think of it in that aspect. So 2 pages is pretty good.
Okay. Well, Crystal, thank you for coming on today. You're more welcome to come back anytime.
Oh, thank you for having me.
For those of you who are out here, looking for a job, don't give up. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And know your worth. Know your worth. That's the main thing I want people to take away from it. When you write your resume, write it knowing that you are worth everything. And
can you give them that email address again? I got to put you there. Can you give them the contact again?
Okay. Team, TEAM, at Splash of Color Creative Solutions.com.
All right. Well, Crystal, thank you again. Everyone, thank you for watching this video. Please check out more videos. And don't forget to check out what's happening in Birmingham.com for the rest of the podcast videos. And don't forget to join me. I got tongue tied for a minute. Don't forget to, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I need some more subscribers, y'all. So go ahead and subscribe to that. Thank y'all again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast. Please check out our website or subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos today.